All right, let's get into it. We're going to talk about the top 10 myths about AI and AI-powered businesses. And the first one is one that I've talked about before, but it always bears repeating, that you are too old to start with AI. And that is patently busted, because even though you're over 40 or like me, over 50, it's never too late to learn something new, to learn a new skill, to learn something that's going to help you in the future. Now you have to remember, we are Gen X. We've seen the dot-com bust. We've seen the housing crisis. We've seen computers go from giant things that stayed on your desk to laptops to handheld devices. We've seen all sorts of changes economically, and we've gone through them and done an incredible job just getting used to it, acclimating to it. And AI is the exact same way. It's just another tool, another skill that we can master. It might take some time, but the simplest thing to remember is this: once you learn one skill, once you learn how to talk to ChatGPT, for instance, you can take that skill to all the other GPTs as well. I always say that because we're a little older, we've learned how to communicate. And learning how to communicate, especially with AI, is one of the easiest skills that we naturally have. We do have a leg up on the younger crowd, so to speak. So this myth that you're too old is completely busted. Next, you need to be technical or know how to code. Now, I've talked about this as well. This is a complete lie. Now, I will add a caveat. First of all, let me start by saying you don't have to learn how to code to use ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and get great things out of it. You can get great scripts, you can get great images, you can get great emails or files for work. You can do all sorts of great stuff and not know how to code. You don't have to have all that wisdom about being a developer and all that. However, here's my caveat. If you're trying to do things like build automations where you're using make.com, or you're trying to do all sorts of things, and it's getting much easier, but there's a little bit of understanding how those type of things work, but you don't necessarily have to know how to code per se. I know more coding on how to do WordPress stuff just because I've been doing it for so long, and it's not even real coding, it's just the basic little fixes here and there. So do you need to learn how to code? Do you need to be technical? Oh, no, absolutely not. You don't. But the thing is, you need to rely on the tool to do the job for you. All right? So that myth is busted. Next, AI is going to take away my job, so why even bother? Now, I will say that this is something that we've talked about time and time again, and I will say it this way. AI is not going to take your job, but someone who knows how to utilize AI possibly will. Because AI is not going to be actively stepping in and just taking over your role. There always has to be what we call a human in the loop, meaning there has to be a human being controlling what the AI does. Because it's not a computer program. It's not something that once you set it, it goes off and does its thing. You have to actually go in there and monitor the output, and it's not the same thing as learning how to do a simple program where you set it and forget it. AI is completely different, and it's not going to replace people, but there's always going to be an opportunity for people who understand how to use AI to step in and take over for someone who is choosing to not learn at least the very basic. And if you're not willing to learn the basic gist of how to operate AI, that's really on you. So I don't really think that it's going to take a job, but I think the person that understands how to use AI might. So that myth is completely busted. Now we're going to flip over and talk about starting an AI-powered job. Now, when I say AI-powered job, it's any side hustle or anything that you want to do where you're going to have to let, or you're going to want to let AI kind of do a lot of the heavy lifting. So in what I do, I spend a lot of time teaching my AIs how to write scripts, or giving me content ideas, or generating images or short little video clips. it also handles a lot of organization for me as well. So that's AI powered. I'm not actually having to do the hard work. The AI is actually doing it. So if you think that you have to be able to go in and have a full business that's running completely on AI, that is not true. You don't have to have that. But you have to have enough AI going on to where it takes a lot off you. One of the things we're going to talk about in a future video is one of the businesses that I'm really looking into to spend a lot of time is reputation management for companies. And there's several AI tools out there that I'm going to employ to make that a little easier for me. It's basically a way that you can have one person run a multi-million-dollar business on their own. Now, you might have to hire a part-time assistant to run the books and stuff because you always want to have, again, a human doing that kind of thing or human in the loop. But it's going to be something where you leave a lot of the creative heavy lifting. Once you start getting a lot of your ideas out and into the AI, it's going to do a lot of the idea generation and creation of whatever IP that you're going to create. It's going to do that part for you. So the question becomes, do you need a huge audience or a big following to start a business? Now that's the myth. Now the truth is this: no. Very few people are actually paying a ton of attention online. The thing that you have to remember is, especially if you're going to start any type of business, is if you can connect with a human being and you can show them that the product or service that you're offering benefits them, saves them time, helps them get more clients, helps take some of the pressure off their day-to-day operations, they're going to hire you. If you can show that you can do all that at a reasonable cost per what they bring in. So if I want to go out and get hired by a company to, let's say, build a website, and the website's really only going to cost me plus time $500, but they're only making a few $100s a week, they're not going to want to hire me. But if they're making $500 on every project and they do multiple projects throughout the week, then they'll probably think about hiring me. But you don't have to have a large following online to make that happen, because you don't have to have any following online if you really don't want to. What you need is you need to be able to get in the door on some clients. It's sales 101. And once you get in the door of the first 5 or 10 people, then word of mouth will be able to kick in and you'll be able to do more things. And one client is another client. So do you have to have a big social media following? No. Does social media help? Yes and no. Depends. Having a good social media following might help you maybe get your foot in the door somewhere, but it's not guaranteed. That's one of the areas where Gary Vaynerchuk and I we have we don't have discussions. I have long discussions in my head to the imaginary Gary Vaynerchuk in my head. So that myth about having to have a large following, busted. The next myth is it's too expensive to get started. Now, I'm going to attack this 2 different ways. It's not expensive to get started with AI because most of the AI programs out there are free. You only have to pay when you start using more and more credits. Tokens is actually what they use. When I say credits, I mean tokens, because I'm still in that mindset of going to the arcade when I was a kid. Anyway, so the tokenization of AI, when you put something into AI, it runs on the spending of tokens. When you sign up for an AI, it gives you X amount of tokens per day, per week, per month, however it signs up. And if it's free, you have a limited amount. When you pay, you get a larger amount that replenishes every month. If you've been paying attention to the news, Claude came out with Fable 5 and it was just burning through tokens. So people were spending $100, $200, $300 just to get these massive projects done. And they're like, I'm not really sure this is worth it. So Claude made some adjustments on that. But it's not expensive to get started because almost all AI are free to a point. I think Manus, you run out of tokens. I run out of tokens probably faster on Manus because I don't pay for it. I run out of tokens pretty fast in Grok because I don't pay for it. ChatGPT is fairly generous. Perplexity is fairly generous. And Claude is fairly generous, but I pay for a couple of those. Now, starting a side business, on the other hand, Doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. You can incur a lot of expense, but the way I like to tell people how to do it is bootstrap as hard as you can for as long as you can until you absolutely have to pay for stuff. So in my businesses, I pay for hosting. I pay for one or two softwares that I have to make the programs work. I have one program that I use that is proprietary, so I have to have it. And then I do pay for a couple of AI. So there's a little bit of cost in that. But what you do is you bootstrap as long as you can, do as much as the pre-planning, get everything as ready as you can, and be careful not to procrastinate, but get as much done as you can, and then start hustling for clients as hard as you can until you absolutely have to start paying for the big stuff. And once you get to the point where you absolutely positively have to buy a software or buy a subscription to a software, which is more accurately what happens, then you've at least got your foot in the door with a couple of potential clients where they're going to be paying you. So it starts the flywheel. So you never want to spend more than you're making. So do you have to have a lot of money? No, you can do it on the cheap, but there's going to come a point where you're going to have to spend some money. All right. So I think that myth is pretty much busted. You don't have to have a ton of money to start AI. You don't have to have a ton of money to start building your business. All right, so the next myth, market is already saturated. I missed the wave. That is incredibly wrong. Now, I've had people say that they don't want to get into AI because it's just like everybody's in AI and there's too many things, and the market's not saturated for AI. You can learn AI up one side and down the other. There's never going to be not enough room for everybody to work on AI. But what we're talking about specifically is the business part, starting a business. Now, I'm not going to say this myth is completely busted because there are some things that are probably not the wisest thing to get into. You can start a business based on anything that you want to do as long as you can prove that you can make money with it. Now, there are 8+ billion people on the planet, and you don't need that many people to make a living, replace your income, or get to the point of income that you want to get, because there's so many opportunities out there. And you can cut a percentage out of that if you're in the United States or Canada or wherever you're watching this from. The population of your area is a little less than that, but total around the world, 8+ million people. So there's plenty of opportunity out there. Now, are there markets that are more saturated than others? Yes, I will grant you that. Spend a lot of time working with home service providers. I'm not going to go for roofers. I'm not going to go for ones that everybody goes towards. I was thinking about going to when I started, I was thinking about going to some of the more refined services. Dentists, everybody calls a dentist. Doctors, everybody calls those. They're probably very satiated there unless you've got some incredibly unique, super proprietary, this is the only one in existence opportunity kind of thing. If you can convince yourself of that, great. Put up the flagpole of a couple people that you know. Put up the flagpole of your dentist and see what he says, or whatever you're trying to target. But I will say, for the most part, almost everything that you're trying to do is not saturated. Your market might be saturated locally, but it might not be as saturated in Wyoming or Wisconsin or Denver or California, or there's other places that you can go target. Especially if you're doing online stuff. The world's your oyster. You go anywhere and make money with AI because you don't have to be trapped into the one geographic area that you are, unless that you're doing that type of business and it has to be in that area. I was looking at one business opportunity where they were talking about, how get them to bite, get the potential client to bite, and then when they are ready to really make a decision, go meet with them. I was like, well, that's going to suck if I'm, a client in Cleveland. I'm not going to fly to Cleveland for a $297 customer. It makes sense. Unless I got like 30 in a meet. But, market saturated for whatever your business idea is, probably not. It might be geographically saturated. Florida, probably not going to go for pest, probably not going to go for certain that are specific to Florida, but they might go gangbusters in Tennessee, or you never know. So I think that myth is busted, but there's a caveat. All right. So the next myth: AI content is obviously and nobody wants it. I find that very hard to believe, considering the amount of it that I'm seeing. So if nobody wanted AI, when I scroll on Facebook, why am I seeing so much AI? If nobody wanted it, it wouldn't be there. If nobody wanted the content that people are generating with AI, there wouldn't be any content from AI where my eyes are. The one thing Gary talks about is you always want to go where the eyes are. And he's big on TikTok, say that 10 fast. He's big on Instagram. He's also really big on Facebook. And for my demographic, Facebook is probably the go-to place. And I see a ton of AI. Now, the trick is a difference between really good AI and really poor AI, the AI slop that people call. And if you can come up with great prompts to create really genuinely good pieces, either written pieces or artistic pieces, meaning creative pieces like images or video, then that's a completely different ballgame. You're not talking about somebody who's sitting around just throwing up a quick, things up there every now and then just because I'm get a quick message out. Did I spend 25 hours honing it in? No. But if you want to follow somebody who puts incredible AI stuff out from the type of things that we're talking about, you want to go check, Russell Brunson stuff. He's got a team of people that are putting out incredible AI content. Looks amazing. He's got one entire webinar that was generated by AI that's incredible. It's really good. It's well written. It's well put together. It's like watching a movie. And I know it was written by AI because he told us it was. So go check that out. There's good AI. There's bad AI. Work really, really hard to not put bad AI out. But do people not want AI? No, of course not. It's one of the biggest booms in the world. All you have to do is go and look when these creators put prompts out to do these really cool images. There's thousands of people copying and pasting those prompts. So there is a need out there for it. But I think the difference that we're all talking about is the crappy, channel stuff that you can tell some thrown together because you saw a TikTok video and it's just not great, versus something that somebody put some thought into. I think that's important. Okay, so let's say that myth is busted. Okay, you have to pick one perfect tool and master it. This a busted myth. However, you need to be able to get really, really prompting. And once you get really good at prompting, then it doesn't matter what tool you use unless you're trying to create something specific. Like if I want to generate ideas, ideation is great with ChatGPT because I don't have to give it a ton of background. I can give it just a basic prompt and it'll get me great responses back. If I'm trying to get really technical, I know I'm going to go to Perplexity because it does a lot of the research and then it gives me all of the where it got the information from, so I don't have to stress as much. I always check. I don't have to stress as much about it hallucinating information. If I want something to come and rewrite something that I've written to try to make it sound a little bit more professional or a little bit more polished, that's a Claude thing. But I'm not going to go to Claude to generate images, although there is a way you can do that using a little more higher end Claude, but you have to pay for it. But I think ChatGPT is turning out great stuff. Nano Banana and Gemini is turning out amazing stuff. There's so many things that you can do with Gemini. They changed the names. Notebook LM, but I think it's Gemini Notebook LM or something like that. there's things that you can do there that's very difficult to do other places. So it's not that you have to have one tool and be a genius at it, but you have to have a basic understanding of prompting. Once you get the prompting down, you can go to any tool and get good results. It's just specialization of what that tool can do. Like if I want to create videos, I'm not going to get ChatGPT to do that because it's just not that great. But I can go to other platforms where there are better equipped GPTs for that. So that's a myth with a little bit of a asterisk by it. And then finally, the last myth we're going to talk about is you need a brand new skill or idea to compete. Now, there's a great quote out there. I come from the musician's world, and there's two quotes that I always love to quote. One is nothing new under the sun. And the second quote is good musicians borrow, but great musicians steal. Now, I'm not saying that you should steal somebody's idea, but what I am saying is there's a lot of people who think that they have to have some magic bullet. Oh my gosh, this is a brand new idea. I just spent months developing this thing. And whoa. What are the clients that you're trying to what your audience that you're trying to sell to need? What do they really need? It's not what you think they want. You know, the course creators do things backwards all the time. They create these courses and pray to God that people will buy them, versus get to know the people you're talking to. Get to know the people that you're trying to help, and then they'll tell you what they need. You know, clients that you're looking for. What is a plumber looking for? Well, they're looking for more clients. Well, how have they been doing it? They've been doing a lot of word of mouth. Okay, great. About their reputation management on Google Maps? Or do they have a website? Do they have a number that people can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week and talk to somebody, which is an AI receptionist? You know, those are the kind of things you have to think about. So if you're thinking about starting a business, you don't have to have this new skill or a new idea to compete. What you need to have is a good understanding of what your clients need and what they want, and how you can serve them, and how you can answer and provide for them the service or thing that they need or want. It doesn't have to be a new idea. It just has to be something that saves them time and energy. And if you can do that utilizing AI, then you've got a business. There's no way around it. One of the things that I've learned over the last year or so, really kind of that I have these grandiose idea of things that I really want to do. And then it dawned on me that, you know, that I'm trying to serve, well, I should really talk to them and find out what they want, not what I want. So if you can do that, then this myth is going to be busted. You have to learn a new skill. You have to learn a new. Now, there might be some skills you have to brush up on. You might have to learn how to prompt, but once you learn how to prompt, you can do all sorts of really cool stuff with AI. But that's not necessarily a big skill. It's something you got to learn anyway if you're going to use AI. All right. So 10 myths busted, a couple of them with some caveats. And I hope that helped. I hope that you saw that it's not as big, scary a world with AI and using to launch a business as you might have thought. If you'd like to know a little bit more, please hit me up in the comments. There's a little below in the description where you can set up a roadblock call. You can find out, you know, what's the biggest roadblock, what's the biggest challenge that you're dealing with right now, and let me help you with it. I'm not going to try to force something on you. I'm not going to make you try to buy anything. You know, we're going through. I'm going to hopefully give you the answers that you're needing, and then we'll move forward. You know, if I continue to help you, great. If not, I'm going to set you off and just let you have a great time. But I really want to try to help you learn AI and then leverage AI so that you can launch a business, so that you can accomplish whatever it is you want to do. Get out of the 9-to-5 rat race, maybe supplement your income, maybe supplement your retirement. I don't know what that is for you, but I know that I want to help. So hit me up there. If you can visit my school page, which is school.com/AI Made Easy, hit me up there. You can always see me online and other places. I want to thank you for watching, taking time out of your busy schedule to spend with me. And I want to encourage you to always stay curious and to always take action.